But we can start because Lindsay and Dennis are here. And Lindsay was gonna start first because she has to leave a little early today. So I'm gonna pull up your. On the M drive, you said under.
Yeah, under Parks and Rec.
And I'll have to duck out early to get to a
Parks and
meeting
Recreation.
somewhere else.
And then if you scroll all the way to the bottom, I don't think I actually.
Oh, you didn't see it
Yeah,
right
it should be
here?
under CIC updates. Oh, sorry, scroll up just a little bit. There we go.
Here,
CIC Parks
recap?
recap, yep.
Okay. And we'll do that.
It does it like
A
3
couple
times.
times,
Yeah, and then. I think that one. Oops, shoot, sorry.
Fancy.
So fancy.
That's just.
I like telling stories with pictures, you know? Who wants to hear me talk the whole time? You might as well look at something.
What?
But you are the host.
I'm the host. Why is
We're
this
gonna spend
doing
another couple
this?
days.
What, yeah.
At least electronics.
Oops. Tangle up. in the
Well, this is
cord.
gonna be frustrating.
We've gotten hacked.
No,
No, I think the meeting expired in the Zoom account.
Oh,
Nobody noticed. So we're using an old link and it's allowed us to get into the
Get in,
meeting, but not to control it.
hmm.
Pat, we're not gonna be able to share our screen today. I'm sorry. But
That's
Lynn,
okay, I'll try to pay attention.
and I can get you the slideshow. I can send it over.
Okay. That'd be great, thank you.
Mhm.
Technical difficulties.
Oh, yes,
All part of it. It's wonderful.
every day.
Ugh, how many times can I underline that I need to?
Do you
find?
want to just have this?
Yeah,
So you
that's
can
perfect,
move
yeah.
forward?
Sarah, can you pull that cord?
Thank you.
It's every time I move my foot,
It's stuck under the wheel.
I caught up in the
Table.
There
There
you
you
go. Thank you for coming, Lindsay.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks.
It's been a busy year. I think the
Busy year.
last time I saw you guys was in the beginning of the year, talking about all the projects we were going to
Right.
do, and now I can update you on all the things we have done and more. So I really want to start out, just going over the events and activities that we've had in the parks this year. There were quite a few. They were super successful. A lot of different organizations involved, within the town and external entities too, which was something that I was really excited about. So we had, in June at Ononda, we had over 1,000 kids at the park.
Oh.
Between all the
Awesome.
field trips from different schools, not just Canandaigua, we also had Naples, we had Bloomfield come and a bunch of different schools throughout that month. So talk about parks getting utilized. June was it. We also had the special events committee and the city of Canandaigua joined together to put on Perks of the Park, which was a first ever event just to get our community members out to all the parks within Canandaigua. Whether you knew about the parks or not, it was just a great event to get people to explore some parks they might not have heard of. We also had the Ontario Historical Society hold a classic British car show down at Ononda, which was a very unique and interesting event. I didn't know anything about British cars, but they're very small.
and they all leak.
They're all small and they leak. So that was a really cool event that they wanted to have down at Ononda on Lakeside. So we reserved the entire Lakeside portion for them, and the community could come. It was a free event that they put on. In addition to that, we had the Ontario ARC host their annual Harvest Festival at Outhouse Park this year. So they were looking for a new location and we had the honor of hosting it. Again, a great turnout, something within our community that I think everyone knows of, Ontario ARC. We also had the Parks and Rec Committee put on 1 movie night and 2 music in the parks events over summer. So we had food trucks, a band, a movie, lots of popcorn. The Interact Club from the high school helped and volunteered to do the parking and handing out some tasty treats. So again, great community involvement there. As you guys know, we also had Halloween at Ononda that was put on by the Special Events Committee. Thank you, Dennis. I know you were very involved too in that. And we had over, what would you say, around 800 total people?
Probably, it
Close
was
to?
a beautiful day, first of all.
That's
So,
beautiful. It was.
yeah, it was really a nice event.
And it was nice that we finally did it again after a couple years on pause due to COVID. So bringing more people to the parks. The Apraxia Foundation held their fall festival at Motion Junction this year. They were originally looking at having their festival at Outhouse. And then when they saw Motion Junction, they were like, oh my gosh, like we need to have it here. So they did. They had a couple of food vendors come. And the Apraxia Foundation, I don't know if you guys know what Apraxia
No.
is. So I didn't either. And they educated me. So it is an issue where your brain and your mouth don't connect. So they have a hard time communicating in words what they want to say. So it can be a very frustrating disability. So what was great about Motion Junction is we have all of those communication boards. So that way they could communicate with other children or family members more easily versus getting frustrated, because in their mind, they know what they want to say. They're just unable to say it. And anyone with apraxia, it's, you know, different levels of communication issues. So they were thrilled to have it there. And then, yeah,
Adults or kids,
both.
or both.
Both, yeah. And then we also had a lot of large weddings starting to book for Ononda. So I'm actually working with someone right now who wants to have a wedding in the fall of 2023. So actually going down to Ononda to look at that location, to have it in Gorm Lodge, holding some ceremonies down by the water. So
Wow.
really cool, really cool. You can clearly tell I'm excited about all the events. I hope next year we continue to have more as our parks evolve, get some use out of them. So we did have our pirate ship ribbon cutting. Thanks to the Special Events Committee for putting this on. It was a super fun themed event. The kids were marching around with the little pirate hats, little eye patches. It was super fun, and kids played for hours after the event was over. I have 2 young ones, so I was there for hours after it was over as they were, fighting on the pirate ships. You guys also know we did have our grand opening of Motion Junction on June 18th. So that was something that was super excited, highly anticipated. It was an incredible turnout. Since we have opened the park, we have welcomed over, I would say well over 1,000 people. If you guys drive down that road at any given time, that parking lot is full with kids. But not only there, but even across the street too. So with the addition of the new pirate ship, fixture and all that, like both parks are getting heavily utilized. But Motion Junction, I mean, look at that picture of all those people at grand opening. Absolutely
That's
incredible.
a great picture. I've never seen
Yeah.
that.
So our
That's
photographer went up in the fire truck
awesome.
bucket
Oh, cool.
to get that shot. Again, just the lives that this park is impacting is insane. I do want to touch base though, just to inform everyone on the phasing plan for this. So the park is obviously not complete. The playground itself, all that is done and usable. But that was just phase 1. So phase 2 is the pavilion, which the construction is going to get started this winter. And we're anticipating it to be done hopefully by summer. I say hopefully because there are always, unforeseen issues that come about, but we're hopeful that it'll be open in summer. And then phase 3 is going to be the entrance, the driveway, landscaping and lighting. So more of those fine-tuned touches. And then phase 4 will be the ball field and trail. And then phase 5 will be the Four Seasons building. So that way people can have conferences or parties and that sort of thing. So as this project it's been evolving. There's been a lot of interest in looking at like a turf field or an accessible type field. Obviously that costs a lot and that requires a lot of funding. So that's just a concept right now. But there's a lot of parties interested in that. So we're exploring that to make it more inclusive. It's kind of paved the way, honestly, for the way we think just about accessibility throughout all of our parks.
Is somebody on board as far as crosswalks and warnings.
Yes, yes.
You know, that's going to be, or it is an issue already.
Absolutely. So we're talking about complete streets. That's something that I know Jim and Doug have been discussing. Sarah, do you know anything about that?
I mean, long-term, it would be really nice to turn Outhouse Road, the entire road into a complete street that has facilities for, you know, walkers, bikers, anyone rolling on anything, as well as cars all the way from one end to the other. But, you know, that's long-term. I hope sometime in the short term, we will maybe get some sort of a crossing, at least crosswalk.
Just to
There's-
stripe it, because, you know, we made
Right.
Happiness House. Has
And
a sidewalk
that
that
just
butts up
ends.
to the
Yeah,
driveway,
eventually
I
those
mean,
will be
and
continued,
people
but
go back and forth there. Just. The easiest thing would be to stripe it somehow to get somebody.
I don't know when that's gonna happen,
Yeah.
but I know there's been
A lot of
You know,
conversations.
There's
we're
also-
inviting a lot of people.
A lot of people.
There's also the discussion on what that sidewalk is gonna go to, because you know, there's nothing on the other side right now. It's just right directly across from the driveway at Motion Junction. It's just grass. There's not a path right there at Outhouse. Eventually, you know, there's gonna be a connection, but there isn't right now. That might be the reason why they're not striping it. Because it would just get them across, but then they'd be walking on the shoulder and it's gravel and grass, so.
I do know though, however, for phase 3, that there is a plan for the sidewalk to go out to Outhouse Road. And then there will be that crosswalk. So that's phase 3.
To the meeting house or whatever.
Yes, yeah, to Outhouse Hall, yes. And just with this entire location, it's gonna become the recreation hub. You have the YMCA, the Civic Center, Outhouse East, Outhouse West, and plus the Auburn Trail. So there's been a lot more conversation about exactly what you're speaking of, long-term wise too, just for a potential
Yeah.
complete street. Short-term, safety is number one.
Right.
So we are looking at a crosswalk.
And we'll also, we have the sidewalk and measurement team starting, so I think that could also be a top priority.
Yeah, I'm expecting that on that map, it will show that we need sidewalks that connect the Y to Outhouse.
The
Park.
Y, absolutely, the Y, yes.
I don't know, it's exciting. That
It is.
that entire area
Whole area.
is exciting. Just speaking to some community members out and about, I mean, people are thrilled.
Yeah,
It's great.
So I did want to share with everyone too, that we did win the Reshaping Rochester Award for Best Design Small Award for 2022. So Shauna, thank you for nominating us and
Good.
putting our name in there. So we did win. We did win an additional award a couple months prior to that. I did not have the information on that to provide. So again, we're getting a lot of attention for this project.
Does it have any money attached to it?
No, just a nice plaque.
It's a nice plaque.
More
And some
recognition.
PR and
Good
yeah,
PR,
recognition, yeah.
through Rochester, really exciting. Also, we did install our community fire pit down at Ononda, and had it ready for the summer, so it did get a lot of use. People were thrilled. When you have a camping experience, most of your memories happen around a campfire. So we were able to provide that for a lot of people visiting our park this year.
Are there benches too now or not?
Nope, just bring your own chairs, bring your own chairs. We also paved the front half of the Outhouse Park trails. So we were tossing up the idea of an 8-foot or a 10-foot. We pushed for the 10-foot trail. It makes it far more diverse for usage. You could be walking, running, rollerblading, bike riding. What you don't see in this picture though, is that a woman was actually walking as well, utilizing the trail, and there was enough room for everybody to have space. So my crazy kids were not terrorizing her as she's on her nice peaceful evening walk. It creates a really safe, even walking path for everybody. And it's just another way to enjoy some more outdoor activities. The rest of the path will be paved in 2023. We did apply for a grant to hopefully, did we hear?
I looked yesterday. They have
Nothing
not
yet?
announced it
Okay,
yet.
okay, nothing's announced yet. But we did apply for a grant because our idea is to have more safe paths for people in all of our parks to walk. So our goal is to have a couple other trails paved for people to use.
Yeah, the grant we asked for would provide us funding to pave pathways at all of our parks.
That's amazing.
It is pretty amazing. I do want to note, so I know this slide is for facility occupancy data, but the picture below of Crouch Hall, we did have our roof redone and installed, and it looks gorgeous. So
What a difference.
it is such a
That
difference.
looks so different.
It's so different. So we're gonna continue with that into next year, doing a couple more cabin roof replacements, with the same exact, metal roofing that you see there. But I thought this was interesting to share. So occupancy data for, our facilities, so not the cabins, just our facilities. So schoolhouse, we do rent that out. I was actually really surprised by this data for all of 2022. It was rented out for 37% of the year, which probably doesn't seem like much. But it's the highest for weekday
That
rentals.
includes winter, right?
Yes.
So that's pretty remarkable.
Yes, and it's out of all of our rentals, that one is most rented during the week versus the weekends, which I found very interesting. Gorham Lodge obviously is one of our more popular rentals, so 27 out of the 50 Saturdays it's been rented, 16 out of 49 Sundays it's rented out. And that's for the entire year.
Is that right by the water? Or is that the
No,
other
that's
one?
the one that has like the overnight stay.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Big one.
yeah, the larger one.
Mhm.
So King Hall is on the uplands. It has the most gorgeous view, in my opinion. That is a seasonal rental. But Saturday rentals from Memorial Day to November is 81%, which is huge. You can tell which one's really popular. And then Sundays is 62.5%, which is a lot. And then we have Crouch Hall. That's the facility that has the gorgeous fireplace, the cobblestone fireplace. We've used it for a couple meetings. If you guys haven't had a chance to look at it, please do. I should actually maybe send out some photos for you guys to see what it looks like. But during peak time, 9 out of 15 Saturdays it's rented, 10 out of 15 Sundays. Off season, it gets a lot of rentals too, 22 out of 34 Saturdays. And then for the Sundays, it's the 12 out of 34.
Wonderful.
Yeah, Outhouse Hall, as you guys know, again, that's one of our more popular ones. You almost have to book out a year in advance to get a weekend day rental there.
Yeah.
90% of our Saturdays for the entire year are booked and 80% for Sundays. So holy
Wow.
moly, yeah.
Hmm.
And
We own it, yeah. Do we own it?
and then with Motion Junction, you add that in, I
Yeah.
mean, there's definitely a need for another facility. So that's why that Four Seasons building will be really
Plan.
important when we build that.
Location wise, it's such a good
It's
spot.
central, it's beautiful. And again, like there's definitely a need to have another facility across the street to have more parties, so. Something that was unexpected that happened this year that we did not talk about earlier in the year was land acquisition. We purchased a parcel next to McJanet, so I have it kind of highlighted here. So McJanet Park is this little triangle right here where my cursor is. Right next to it, this parcel is what we purchased. So it's on Seneca Point Road and 21. The reason I wanted to show you guys this picture is just to show the potential connection that we're striving for to get down to Ononda Park, to have some trails down the gully and all that stuff. We're a long way away, I will say that. But it's a step in the right direction, builds that connection to the Vista Preserve over here. I know Sarah's really excited about this parcel.
It also has a gully, so it's also water
Yes.
protection,
Water protection, open space,
water quality protection. I
sorry,
should
water
say.
quality protection. So super exciting, the opportunity came up and we went for it and we got it. So,
We've talked about it for 30 years,
Yeah.
connecting to Janet.
Yes.
On the park.
So baby
Maybe finally
steps,
it's going to happen.
baby steps.
I'm not sure I can walk it any longer.
So I'm trying to get assimilated. Is that Westlake Road that's coming down?
No.
No, Seneca.
That's not the point.
Oh, that's Seneca, okay.
Yeah, so the-
Thank-
Yeah,
That's
It's Seneca Point
Seneca
Road
Point at 21.
there.
yeah,
Okay,
just south of where Seneca Point Road joins State Route
No.
21 is McJanet Park. There's a little pull off.
It doesn't,
With
does
a
it have
parking
a
lot
name?
and picnic.
Right.
tables.
Yeah, it's
McJanet Park.
this-
is
It
what
doesn't
it's
say
called.
that. Well, I didn't know if there's a sign.
Yeah,
But
there
it just
is.
says Scenic Vista.
It's
or
like if you
view.
park,
Oh,
it
yeah,
says
right
Janet
there.
Park gives you the history.
The state has a blue sign alerting you that there's a scenic vista
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
And so the parcel we bought is just north of there
Mhm.
for Pat, who can't see it.
Sorry, Pat.
And for those of you who have been to the Vista Preserve, the new trail area that the Finger Lakes Land Trust purchased and that we helped them. is off of Jones Road. So if you're heading south on 21, that's right before you get to McJanet Park. So they're all really close to each other. Just why we got excited.
Wow.
I'm super excited about it.
That's great.
And then the last thing I wanted to touch on, because it's going to segue into Dennis's, presentation that he has. We did a lot of new tree plantings and landscaping at the parks this year. I want to give a huge shout out. There's been a lot of partnership with the tree team, ECB, Sarah has been a driving force as well. And also to Sam and Andy, who have taken a lot of pride in every new tree that we have planted. They've done a great job taking care of everything. We planted 7 new trees this year, which is just incredible. Between Motion Junction and other parks, I have a couple things posted on here. As you can see, we had 2 Girl Scout groups. Is that correct, Dennis?
No, there were like
it 3?
5 or 6 Girl Scout
Yeah.
troops.
Oh.
What was that?
The Girl Scout troops, I think there were 5 of them that put money towards their trees at Outhouse Park this summer.
And then it kind of sparked more conversation around the tree sponsorship. Again, thank you to the tree team, Sarah, just for getting this going. We had our first donor, Dennis, and actually 2 first donors, Dennis and Mr. French. And we were able to put in a gorgeous, it's a maple, right? Is that
Mhm.
correct? I probably don't know the
Sugar
exact
maple.
species, a sugar maple.
A
Down
really
at,
big one.
down at Schoolhouse, with a beautiful rock engraved. It gives honor to the people donating and also the species of the tree. And that's something that we've kind of kickstarted. So it costs around $400 to do it.
Wow.
So we're really hoping next year we'll get some people interested in that as we just kick it off.
It's cool. The trees that you're planting, they're all different.
Yep, and it's by
Okay.
the recommendation from Dan Marin.
Dan Marion is a local arborist who's a volunteer on our tree team with Dennis and several other people. And he and others on the tree team suggest species that they know will work well.
Mhm.
Because we don't want to just plant something all willy-nilly and have it die because it's not the greatest
Right.
condition. So
Yeah.
we're
Obviously,
really taking steps.
Sugar maples are popular,
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
And
we
great shade
planted
trees.
several, I think, this summer.
A couple other things that I wanted to note. So this is what you guys, I believe I presented earlier in the year, just our list of the 2022 projects, but a couple things I didn't take photos of because you can't really take photos of that, but we did upgrade our electric at Outhouse Park. So that way we could host events like the ones that we have without any issues to the electric. And we also installed some electric at the pavilion. So that's been great. Obviously it got a lot of use, so it worked. Awesome. We also just added a couple nice touches down at Ononda. We added lattice around Babcock, which is one of the buildings closest to the water that also houses the sheriff's office down there.
Mhm.
Just to give it a little bit more appeal as people are sitting on the beach, not staring underneath a building with pipes and stuff like that. We also started to do a lot of trail maintenance this year. So we worked on Old Brookside Trail and it's a work in progress, but my team started getting in there, making it look nice. They've worked on the trails at Ononda, the Peanut Line Trail, Switchback Trail. So we're putting in more of an emphasis on that trail maintenance piece. We also got a new 3-panel kiosk, thanks to the history team and the ECB. And again, Sarah, thank you. That was a lot of coordinating, but we have 3 beautiful panels now.
It's gorgeous.
It is
Oh,
gorgeous.
It's really,
also, shout out to Sherry Norton at the county.
Yes.
She's the GIS guru over at the county and she created the map that's the center panel at Ononda.
If you guys
Just
haven't
really,
seen
really
it,
nice.
I would recommend just taking a little drive. It's right at the gazebo, right before the stairs take you up to the upland portion. So if you park lakeside, you just walk across the street. That's where those panels are. So there's a history panel. Would you call it an ECB panel, environmental?
It kind of, yeah, like natural history. It's got information on flowers, fossils, and there's links to go online where we have other things, kind of like things people can download and print. Fact sheets and stuff about what you could find in the gully, amphibians and reptiles and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and then an updated map, which it's beautiful.
Mm.
And again, someone can use their phone to scan the QR code and they can actually get the map on their phone. So that
And
was
we
something
printed
exciting.
some of the maps
Yes,
out,
to
like
hand
11
out.
by 17 to have at the Gay House this summer too, for people who don't want to use their phone, they just want to carry a map.
It was funny when we were just holding up the rendering of like that, just make sure it would fit and everything. Someone was like, oh, can we take a picture of that?
They did, they came up, and
Oh,
took a
did they?
picture and then went up to the trail.
So there
Yes,
was,
so- They had some great photos from Peter Blackwood.
yes.
Yes, there were a lot of people who donated. Peter Blackwood donated the use of the photos on the panel. Dave Hayden, I cannot remember, I'm sorry, the company that he works, but he's graphic designer and does a lot of things with video and graphics. He designed the layout of the panels. The history team got some of those old photos from the Rochester Museum and Science Center. They have some of their neat old Ononda photos that we have on the wall. So we got permission to use those again. Just a lot of people spent a lot of time making them look really
Yeah.
good.
And it does, it
That's right.
looks incredible. So I mean, I could go on and on and on about all the awesome things we've done this year. Again, just I thought the partnerships between teams, committees, bunch of different staff really helped make this happen. So I have to give thanks to them because it could not have done it without all of our awesome volunteers and our employees.
May I ask about the partnership with the Y?
Yeah.
I've heard different stories. I understand they're going to oversee the programs at Ononda Park and Richard Outhouse Park.
Yes.
Starting this summer, which will be
It'll be different.
will be different.
be
will great.
different.
Is that going to replace the day camp that we originally had
Correct.
with it?
Yes.
And will there be a charge for individuals that take part or?
Yeah, so the YMCA, it's a 1 year, we'll say trial run. They're gonna be running all of our day camp programs out of Ononda and one at Outhouse. The program is gonna go a lot longer than it has in the past with longer extended hours. There will be a cost, like a weekly cost. For town residents, there will be a discount off of what the Y member rate is. So Y members always get a discount off of their day camps. Town residents get an additional $40 off of that rate to make it, obviously worthwhile to our residents who are paying the taxes. Their plan is to have a more extensive program, like a real day camp down at Ononda. So the idea is that they're going to purchase some canoes and kayaks, really use that waterfront and teach the kids skills that they wouldn't normally get. It's going to be a real lakeside camp experience. So I know I'm personally excited about it to see what they can do. They run a lot of different camps. Obviously, they run the one right down at the Y in Canandaigua, but what's really nice is the person who oversees and is the director of recreation there has run Camp Arrowhead and also Camp Corey. So they have a lot of experience coming in on how to run a lakeside camp. So I'm really excited to see what they're gonna bring. There'll be more information coming out in the next 2 weeks too.
And what about the preschool program that used to be at the schoolhouse? Is that going to continue? Or are they going to oversee that or that's?
So right now, they're not going to oversee that one. I know the city is still intending on running the camps out of their parks with like the preschool programs and all that stuff. And the town residents are still going to get the same rate as the city residents. So that is not changing at all. Outhouse, the program at Outhouse will be geared more towards different ages as well. So I wouldn't say quite kiddie camp, but not the same age range as down at Ononda.
Sounds good.
I'm excited. We'll see how it goes. It'll be a learning, we'll all be learning through this process for the next year, but I know they're very excited and would like to continue to help us with this. Great question, Dennis. Thank you. Anything else?
This is great.
Thank you.
There's so much that has happened.
Just wait, we have a whole nother year ahead. It's awesome plans. Well then, Dennis, I will just hand it over to you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Lindsay.
Thanks.
Thank you for putting that
guys.
together.
No problem. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Go ahead, Dennis. Lindsay has-
Well, I should learn how to use technology. Packets.
Take a packet, Dennis.
They told me there'd be about 10 people, so they ran up.
Well, we did have a few that dropped off unfortunately
We
today.
can
Thank you,
keep
Dennis.
some and make sure that they get them at the next meeting.
Yeah, we can pass.
Yeah, and we can also, we were gonna send it over to the town board too.
Yeah, the tree team continue to do what they've done what is this, our third year?
I feel like we got started during COVID, so we didn't really get that year
Get
very
that-
much,
get that.
so.
Anyway,
About the second year work.
we spent many hours visiting the 7 town cemeteries and the 7 parks. Making observations and comments about the trees, such things as removal of certain branches or the condition of trees. Also making suggestions as to maybe replacing certain trees or planting more trees in some of those locations. It was the 150th anniversary of Arbor Day. The tree team had an activity at Richard Outhouse Park. We had Girl Scout troops and the ECB contribute four trees which were planted in the playground area. 3 sugar maples and a crab apple, I think was the other
Yeah.
one, right, Sarah? We, as Lindsay said, we had a planting of a sugar maple at the Westlake Schoolhouse many years ago. The highway had to take down a sugar maple that was located near the water there, and so we replaced that. Dan Marion, one of the members of the tree team, held a workshop for the park staff at Miller Park on how to trim trees. It was well run. It was really interesting, and the park staff certainly took it to heart because, I see all the time tree trimming taking place in the town cemeteries and the parks by the park staff. So that was beneficial. We helped the cemetery committee a couple of times clean Hun Cemetery, the hedgerow that's there. Our plans are for, yesterday we had a cemetery meeting, and the plans are for the cemetery committee and the tree team to do some more cleaning of the cemeteries. One of the first ones we'll be doing is the Sand Hill Cemetery. We had the ECB held their first environmental fair at the highway this summer in October. The tree team had an exhibit. Many years ago, when we acquired the Miller Park land, I interviewed and talked to dozens of people about developing that park, and the Bliss Road area in particular. That's kind of an area that's out of the way. Plus, we weren't sure what to do with it. Well, it was finally decided to kind of make it into a bird sanctuary area. And we spent a lot of time and effort putting in dozens and dozens of plants, blueberry, raspberry, bayberry, myrtle, a number of fruit trees, any type of plant that would attract birds. Well, things were kind of neglected, so that became that area is really in kind of bad shape as far as planning. So we have asked Lindsay to put some money in the budget for next year, and we would like to this coming year replant that Bliss Road area. We are continuing to come up with some kind of a list of desirable and undesirable trees for town residents. That's kind of an ongoing one. And at our last two tree team meetings, we have started to develop some type of heritage tree program for the town. Many communities have this program. We've looked at a number of programs that communities have throughout the United States. We hope to have something developed and approved by the board, in sometime in the spring, and then maybe this summer. Our first goal is to choose heritage trees on town property. And then eventually open that up to town residents for their property, etc. So that's where we are. Sarah keeps us in line, which is very good. Working with Lindsay is phenomenal. Her staff, particularly Andy and Sam, are just terrific. These reports that are in the rest of the packet They're sent to Sarah, then Sarah gives them to Lindsay, and then Lindsay meets with her staff and they do a nice job of following up on the recommendations of the tree team, but they've just been terrific to work with. You know, after being here for 29, 30 years, you know, when you step away, you kind of wonder, okay, what are things going to, you know how that can be. What are things going to be like with Lindsay and her staff? I feel really good about where the parks are headed. So that's it. Next year, maybe I'll have some pictures or something.
It's okay.
Now, I have a question. Heritage trees. I've seen heritage tomatoes. And is that like native? Is that what that means or?
Do you want to explain it?
The criteria, we're still working on the criteria, you know, there are all types of things that can be used to judge a heritage tree.
Okay,
You know, since we started talking about this, you know, our experience at the cemeteries in the park, you know, we've already kind of started to pick out some that, gee, this looks like a heritage tree. Well, now we're working on some type of criteria.
okay.
Some communities have a rubric in judging them.
It's often a tree that's either very, very old.
Okay.
So, or it might be a really large specimen for that species. It might be historically important, maybe somebody famous or historically important planted it. It could be that it was, the time it was planted was significant. There's
Yeah, there's a number of different.
the
Yeah.
city of
criteria.
Can-
Could be just.
It's
a
just
single
something
tree.
that stands out.
Right.
City of Canandaigua does a heritage tree program and they have kind of an explanation on their website and there's a few trees in the city that if it's designated. I know there's one at the VA that has a big plaque on it, right? When you enter the VA campus, in front of the main building, there's a really huge tree that's been recognized. I actually don't know who recognized that one, but yeah, so that, like Dennis said, different groups pick different criteria
Criteria.
that dictates what,
Cool.
you know, why that one's important, but yeah, usually size, the type of tree or how old it is, or, yeah, it's interesting.
I know the city has a few trees that they've picked as heritage trees. They also have a rubric that they use to determine. You know, and after we started talking about this, and I bring this up at the tree team committee, when I travel now, it's amazing how many times I look at a tree. You know, my travels, it's like, gee, that could be a heritage tree, you know.
Yeah.
It's something that just,
Stands out.
you know, you want to stop and look at it.
Mhm.
There's something unique about it or whatever, so. But the other could be, you know, age, all those types of things that could be brought into place.
Thanks. I've seen it. I've never asked the question. What's that? I just, yeah.
Another one is like an interesting shape, like an old tree that grew like in a really interesting way.
All kinds of different branches and stuff. I think the main goal, believe it or not, is just to make people in the community aware of trees. You know, once you start talking about things like this, people start thinking about trees a little bit more and the importance of them and how to take care of them and that type of thing. I think that's the ultimate goal is more so than picking up that one tree that everyone wants to go and visit. It's more just making people aware.
Thank you.
So now that you know about it, you guys can start looking around and seeing. Everyone has their own-
I do, yeah.
As I say, which is. That's never been logged because it's in the gully. And it's immense and it's showing its age, but you wonder, how old is it?
I know,
Yeah.
it's always the question.
Because there are a lot of places in Ontario County, including in Onanda probably, that have never been logged, never been cleared. So they've been around for.
How do
300
you,
A couple of our cemeteries have some
Yeah.
beautiful.
You can
Old
take a
trees.
core sample. They actually have drills.
Mhm.
It's called dendrochronology.
Okay.
It's not a good idea.
No,
because it couldn't hurt.
That's-
that's the only way to really know for sure, because it's like an ice core sample, right? You can
Yeah.
get a core all the way to the center and take it out and count the rings. But you're putting a hole in the tree, so you're inviting disease or bacteria or insect. So the other way has to, and Dan Marion knows this better, but like there are, based on the species, you know, we know how fast certain species grow or how slow. Based on where they are, what the climate's like, how tall they are, how big around they are. There's something, a common measurement is called diameter at breast height. It's about what, 4.5 feet above the ground. You take the diameter of the tree.
Okay.
That's a common measurement. So you can take all those things and guess the age. But yeah, without taking a cord or
Dan
cutting
Marion
it
is
down.
very good at determining those things. You know, just because a tree is huge, it
Doesn't
might not be
mean it's
that old,
that
Jim. It
old.
depends on the species of the
Right,
tree and it's
right.
growing and everything else, but Dan has a list of criteria,
Yeah.
you know, the type of tree and so on and so forth, how much they grow per year is to try and figure out the age. That's a hard part.
Oh.
But yeah, be on the outlook now to,
Yeah.
at least on the town property for the time being, then
Yeah.
we'll deal with the public
Private.
later.
Right.
Some of those big old trees down at Ononda, like by the what's the circular building called?
What?
Ononda?
Oh, right in the middle.
Yeah. That one, there's a couple trees right there
Yeah.
that are big and special and
You know, once a tree has been chosen as a heritage tree, there's a plaque put on it and the staff has to pay a little bit more attention to conditions of it and that type of thing and the health of it, whatnot. So,
I think there's it's a sycamore / plane tree in front of where Jeff lives. That is enormous or
in
was,
front of his house.
yeah. At Ononda.
Yeah,
So
believe it or
there's some
not,
of those big ones.
it's gonna determine that heritage trees in that location as much as we have in some other locations in the towns. So it'll be interesting in the
Thank you,
next
Sarah.
spring. That's all my report.
Sarah, thanks for that lesson in
Oh.
tree. and-
Yeah, what was it called? Dendro?
Very cool.
Dendrochronology.
So
I had a
that,
professor in college who, that was his
that's super
specialty,
cool.
and so he took us out and like showed us and brought in a course.
I
That's
hear
so
that.
Right. Yeah, sorry, I have to go.
all right,
Was it-
thank you.
This is a mic for people.
Thank you,
Oh,
Pat. We're gonna wrap up.
I took a walk in.
No, you can't see me.
Thank you.